Hello, everyone. I'm Syed Hamid, founder and CEO of Sophie. I'll let a few more minutes for people to settle in. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We're going to talk about the mobile app testing and how the ChatGPT or GPT has been kind of transforming the test and what are the things that we are doing to change the world. So among the audience, how many people have been in the software industry for like 10 plus years? Or more, so it's a lot of people here. So you can relate to how the transformation has been happening, right? So if you look at it, I started my career back in late 90s, starting at Microsoft, and things have changed a lot, right? How we used to ship software before and how we do it today. The software development approach has changed, right? From typical in the late 90s when people used to release in years using waterfall model to what we have today, the whole agile sprints on a weekly basis, right? I started working in MSN, and I remember we used to ship the CDs, millions of CDs, and the people remember the American Online days. And today, we don't even talk about CDs. We talk about, hey, instantaneously distribution of software. And if people were releasing their software every year or every other year, that company used to be really great back in the 90s and early 2000s. Today, if you're not shipping every few days or every week, you're already behind. Yet, we continue to test the software the same way, either by manually testing it or by writing code. And this is one of the biggest impediments for the faster software releases. And why is that? It is for various reasons. Number one, just setting up and configuration is painful. Most of you we are in a DroidCon, so just take Android, like setting up environment, using Appium and other tools, and deciding between the emulators versus physical devices, right? And if you are a company that releases in tens of different environment or geographic locations, you have to test on all those environments, and you have to have either a third-party tool that's managing your lab, or you need to do it yourself. And constantly investigating failures across the environment. Sometimes, they are not configured right. Sometimes they are not plugged in properly, as simple as that, right? Two, just in order to write automation, you have to decide between multiple frameworks, depending on what you're using, right? You want cross-platform frameworks or not, and like Appium and others. And if you're using performance and UI configuration and testing, you have to actually use specialized tools to validate the visual quality. Is it right on all hundreds of different devices? You have to spend time on doing that. And you have to have a framework knowledge, how people are going to use it. You need to understand it. And obviously, the abstraction layer creates, unfortunately, more debugging problem, right? That depending on where the failure is happening and why it's happening. And it causes pain to investigate every time you're releasing the product. And automation maintenance is time-consuming. I mean, at the end of the day, all the engineering team's code is a code, whether it's a test code or the feature code. You have to maintain it. And that takes time, effort, and energy to go do that. And running that on a daily basis, you will have failures to investigate. And how do you investigate? You'll get a lot of failures, false positives that you need to understand. Is it the device issue? Is it something else? Product changes constantly evolve, and that's part of the game. So you have to constantly update your automation as well. And obviously, the flaky test that people talk about that, hey, it worked on one device, but it didn't work on the other. So what should I go do it? And how should I go validate it, right? And reporting across results is fragmented. You're maybe doing the UI test versus unit test versus end-to-end automation versus device metrics, you name it, accessibility to security to a bunch of things, right? So and it's very fragmented, and different teams have different data to analyze it and report also. And historical data is not always actionable, right? So how do you go in and come and address that? So then, how as an industry we move forward, and how do we use the GPT and OpenAI to really kind of change the game? And then the next part of the presentation is actually more so of demos, right? I mean, it's a real product that you can go and sign up for Sophie.ai and try out and play with the product, right? And so what we believe that, hey, the industry has been trying to do the no-code, and we have been doing it for no-code for some time. So how do you bring the no-code test automation and GPT together? So what we believe that the time is right where any environment should be available instantaneously instead of you spending half an hour, 25 minutes every day just to configure environment and up and running, right? Dependencies on frameworks, because things will change and constantly change. So the less dependency on frameworks and others. And creating automation in minutes without requiring any ability to worry about, how to create the underlying framework or the product changing, right? And then use GPT to analyze results, constantly building your model while you're testing the application. Imagine the world where in the autonomous mobility where Tesla is driving it, can we build software that's learning and providing tests to create itself or test itself? And then also be able to create tests. This is the generative AI piece comes into, can I generate the test cases right out of the functional spec without worrying about what are the underlying infrastructure is or what my app looks like? Like the canonical example that I give, if you have a new tester comes into your team and they want to start testing, they can actually just point to functional spec and say, go create me the test cases so that you have the leg up so that you can understand and ask questions, what's working and what's not working. And last but not the least, that you will always have the issue that people want to create code, so you can actually go back and forth. You can actually just instruct, hey, I have this test case, go create test cases, test automation, a coded automation if you want, you can go do that too. Right? So that's where we believe that the next step in the industry evolution from the manual tested to automated tested to no-code testing is the intelligent testing, which is powered by components like or products like OpenAI and others that can help bring all these things together. So then that's what we are going to show now, is that, okay, yeah, you must be saying, okay, all things are coming together, but okay, show me how it is, because there are a lot of things that we are talking about, right? So now let's go into the product and show you how we are bringing all these things together. Oops, let me make sure that... everybody can see the screen, or I should make it a little bit... Okay. So again, what we are going to show now is that the four key things that we talked about, right? So I have a kind of a sample app. Let me just get we were doing it for some customers just now. So I'm going to change that to a different app. So you see, this is kind of a dashboard. The ability to go instantaneously access any device, use that. Unfortunately, we have a lot of internet issues going on, so hopefully we'll get, I had to get from the T-Mobile the hotspot to make it work, so hopefully it will work fine. So what we're going to show is that how easy it is to kind of go through this example. So I'm going to demonstrate four key elements in this one. Number one, ability to get your environment up and running instantaneously. Two, ability to play with their physical device so that you can run automation, create automation. Three, use the ChatGPT to just provide functional spec and be able to create test cases. And from that test cases, you can actually go create code and run automation. So these are the four key elements we are going to talk about. The first thing is that let's talk about the device app. They are all Android physical real devices that anybody can go and access. Anybody who signs up for Sophie can actually access this instantaneously. So now I want to actually test my product on, let's take Samsung S10. So I'm going to get a device that should give me availability on physical device. So let's make sure that we have it up and running. So you see, one of the things that we believe is that the days where you have to spend half an hour to get your app up and running on a number of devices, it should be instantaneous. And that's what, with the power of cloud and the power of SaaS, that's what we believe in. You can have your environment up and running under 10 seconds. And here, you can see that now I have application available. These are all the physical devices that are available to you. So in this case, you can actually interact, you can create automation, you can perform and run anything instantaneously. You can simulate network setting, you can simulate API integration. One of the key pain points that we have heard from several customers is that, hey, yeah, in order for me to test the API, my app, I have to call some API to get the test data or configure data or to perform OTP, or multi-factor authentication, depending on what you are using. So all those things enables as part of your one simple test, which is the API through your application. So in this case, you can see that, hey, I can actually go and quickly test it. I'm from Seattle, so I'm going to use this and use this to test it. I can actually go play with this application. You can see it's as responsive as a physical device. And these are all physical devices that we are interacting with. They are housed based in different locations in the world, but you can interact as if you're interacting it with a physical device. And you can also simulate different environments and different network setting and different things that you would like to see. So you can see, like, instantaneously I have results, I can perform that, right? But now if you want to automate this one, you have to set up Appium. You have to understand what are the UI elements. You have to perform, if you are having a system dialog showing up, so you have to perform conditional tests. Literally for every validation, you need to write 5-7 lines of code, find element, perform the actions, perform condition and all those things. What we can do here is that you can actually fundamentally change that and make it very easy to use it. So in this case, I can actually go in and create recording here. So I can just come here and I said, I want to record the test. I can start here. I can start right from here, or I can start from the fresh. So fresh meaning that, it's kind of reinstall the applications and I can go do that, right? So now I have application in a no-code test automation mode. So as soon as the application is ready, we can actually start automating it. And I'll show you one of the pain points that people have if you are using Espresso and Appium and others is that, the dynamic element identification, right? How do you know which one is which? And if you have a React or React Native control, and if developers are not using the uniquely identified resource IDs, then the test automation becomes very flaky, right? So I'll perform the same test that I just did here. So you can see now I can actually go and perform the same thing in Seattle, and I can start searching, and I can perform all these tests that I want to do it here. One of the things that we hear also from the customers is that when something goes wrong or gets slowed, people ask, hey, its performance is slow. Most of the developers, I'm pretty sure, heard that, and they don't know what to do. So they have to go and rerun the test, try to repro it and do that. What we are doing is that we are saying that, hey, in order to run that, you need to flip the conversation, meaning you can define your threshold. So in this case, I can define my threshold, and I can say my application should not take more than 1 second. So I can actually just define that, in this case, 1,000 milliseconds. And now wherever you run it on any other device, on any other place, it will automatically identify it. And wherever the issue comes, it will create the bug with all the steps, everything that's available, so that the developers or the testers, when you're interacting with that, proactively where the UI load time is decreasing or increasing, right? So you can perform all these tests and perform actions. One of the things that we talked about now is that, hey, the ability to create assert. So if I want to validate any element, so for example, I want to validate, hey, I was searching for Seattle, so I need to have this created here. And I can actually create that text. And I can say that, hey, it needs to be equal, and in this case, I can define the text value, and here it's Seattle, Washington. So I can define my things that, hey, I need to give the warning, or to stop it, or whatever the actions I need to do, I can do that. And I can perform all those actions, anything that's available right out of the box, and you can use it not only in the UI element, but we use machine learning, we use different elements to detect the dynamic content. So you can actually just define your approach on doing it, right? So you can actually create that, and you can save that. So I'll just save that, and I'll save that as a test. Oops, did I save it? Yeah. So now it's kind of is saved now. So now you can see on the right side, as soon as this gets loaded, is that one of the challenging points is that test will get changed. The product will get modified, right? So I forgot, for example, to create an assert about the one of the pages, right, on the sign-in page. So I can actually just go and create new assert where I can just go and say, hey, I need a sign-in page also, or a sign-in button also exists, and I want this component is present and show me that, right? So you can actually create all those elements right out of the box, right? So now you can actually create the test, like literally in minutes, and go do that, right? So now you must be wondering, okay, that's great. It's a no-code platform. How does the ChatGPT comes into this picture? So now let's take the second step. A developer or your QA or your product manager actually writes a new functional spec, right? Today, what's the example looks like? I am a tester. I go and read the functional spec, figure it out what I have tested before, and try to bring that together, right? That's a typical flow. Now, what I can do is that I can take that functional spec and I can actually tell the GPT, I said, go create the test cases based on what I have done. So everything that I have done is under the hood creating a new model. So now what I'll do is that I can go back to my portal and I said, hey, I get a new functional spec and I want to create new test using SophieSense. SophieSense is basically our ability to bring OpenAI and ChatGPT into the test generation element. So here you can see now I want to create test. So what I need to do is actually very simple. I need to actually just create, I just need to provide your Confluence page. In this case, I have this. And I can actually go and say, hey, this case is that I'm modifying, for example, in this case, if you look at it, hey, in the case of Hilton, I'm actually testing your cancellation, right? So now you can see what I did is that I have the testing model that I have it for this app, then I have a new functional spec, and I'm actually bringing those together. So now I just ask, I said, look, hey, here's the new functional spec that's changing my cancellation of registration. Can you suggest new cases? So now it should be coming up soon. Now here you go. So now you can see that I have all the things that you just saw me doing it earlier. As it modified it, it brings that together. So now what I can do is that I can say, okay, this looks good. Just create this test cases for me. And I can actually just go and create it. So now it's created. Now actually I can actually either view it, close it, and now here's the kind of the beauty of this whole experience is that now I can actually come here back to what I was doing it before on here, and I can actually just run this test that I just created, and I can just run it. And once I run it with a click of a button, I can actually convert that into an automation. And not only that I can do is that I can also use this to analyze what happened in my test. So if I want to go run this particular test, so let's run this quickly, the test that I just automated for you all for this one. So I'm going to run this quickly. It's going to go in and go through that iteration and go through the quickly test validation. And now once its validation is done, now I can ask ChatGPT to say, okay, what happened in my test? Anytime you're releasing an application, you can actually ask question, hey, what happened to my result? Is the performance good or bad? Is the steps run fine or not? You can start asking all those questions as you progresses through your test. So you can see that we can actually start doing that very quickly. We can run the test. All those actions are performed. All those validations are run. You can see it's like really fast that what you would do it in an Appium or any other code. So now I'm done with the test. So now here's the thing that you can see that the result that I just did. Quickly the demo. So now you can see all the results that I did. So now not only you see this result, but also I can actually start analyzing the device metric and everything. And if you remember, I had set up, if I set up any threshold, I canceled that threshold, but you will be able to see all the network validation, network stages, memory utilization right out of the box where you don't have to even write it. What you can also do is that you can actually also perform visual validation, right? You can actually keep comparing between the results and say, hey, is anything changed in my API on my visual representation between devices? And if it's there, show me what it is and identify that. So now you can see this one, right? So it will still automatically go and identify everything for you. Hey, if the menu item has moved from left to right, it will identify those things for you, and you can actually create that route out of the box. So you don't have to write, and this all happens without any integration. So you can take any app from Google Play Store and start using it. No SDK required, no download required. Everything is out of the box on the web. So now, once I did this, so now what I can start doing is that I can say, tell me what happened on this test. Summarize the result for me. And it can actually start asking the question that you want to ask, right? Hey, is any UI element change? Hey, anything change happen, right? Okay, it gives you the results. But you'll say, okay, what's the big deal? You found out, okay, you were doing that analysis. But here's the thing that you can actually also do. You want to actually create the test. I take a functional spec, I created a manual test, I ran it once. Now I'm using OpenAI to say, look, go create the automation for me. As you know, the Appium code and everything makes it difficult, right? So now what I can do is I can say, hey, create Appium code for this test. So what it's going to do is that not only is it start analyzing it, but it start generating the code for you as well. Because now it knows your application, because we are building the model constantly and updating it. And when a new functional spec or a change comes in, I can bring those things together and suggest, hey, what other changes are there and where you can go and test it. Create the run for you, that you can run it on n number of devices with a click of a button, convert any manual. Or if you want to access a particular code, you can just ask OpenAI Sophie Sense to go create the code for you. Sorry, it's a little bit still taking longer. Sometimes it's all those APIs takes longer to complete. While it's going through, and any question? I think I'm going to take questions as well, if people have any questions. Yeah. If you speak louder, that would be great. I'll repeat it, but yeah.
So I have two questions.
Yes.
First question is, how do I identify conditional testing on a UI? So like, let's say, for example, like I pressed a button and I can expect different UIs based on like maybe an API result or something.
Yeah, you can do that. So there are two ways you do it. Before I just answer this one, now you can see, sorry, it took a little longer. It took the test that I just did, took the functional spec, created the manual test, quickly run that, and start suggesting the code for you. So now you can actually go create the code as well. So now you can take this code. If you want to run on Appium code, you can go run it, but it's constantly learning it and generating it, and then you can modify it and run that. So to answer the question, there are two types of conditionality. There is a deterministic conditionality, and there is an indeterministic conditionality. So deterministic is easy because, I already demonstrate that, hey, you can apply a search, which is also kind of a conditional thing. The problematic thing is indeterministic conditionality, which we know in Android and iOS, is that every now and then you'll get message pop up, and then your Appium code don't know what to do. So what we have done is that we have built in like a machine learning model, taking all the system dialogues and create the model, and you can actually say, hey, I'm expecting this. If it expects, skip it or decide that. So we address that through the conditionality part of it. So and the deterministic one that I just showed you. And you had said you had two questions.
Yeah, got it. That makes sense. Thank you. The second question is like, usually what happens is like the designers have the UI in Figma. So is there a way like we can, just connect the mockups with Figma and like Sophie like basically identifies and does the app testing based on that?
Not yet, because as you know, there is still a fragmentation or a disconnect between actual design and actual implementation. And so there is a lot of under the hood, because depending on frameworks and things you are using. So right now we are not being able to bring that together yet, because more than just the Figma, right, it's the flow and validation and things that are not identified in Figma. So at this point in time, so I think we are not that far from it from the industry perspective, not from our perspective, but I think it's still long ways to go to bring, because till your development workflow is not joint or connected, your testing will not be able to bring that together, right?
Got it. That makes sense. Thank you.
Any other question? Yeah, go ahead.
Does it also work for web page in Android app?
Sorry?
Web page.
Yes. The question is that does it work for web or mobile browser? Yes, it does. So we support basically all the three types, right? You have like a native apps, hybrid apps, or a web app, basically, right? So we support both. Yes.
So we want to add summarization. It also work for the web page.
Sorry?
Add summarization.
Yes, yes, absolutely, yes. You'll do, and you can actually do both in between as well. So, for example, in this gap, suppose I have this particular thing, and now I want to go to Hilton.com and validate something. So you can actually just come here, and you said, and now I want to go to Hilton. So I can actually record the same thing. I can now launch a web browser, go to Hilton.com, log in, and perform certain actions. And it supports both, like all types of form factors.
Sorry, what may mean that there may be some internal browser which opens some web pages. We can also support that.
Yes, you can support that, absolutely.
We can detect all the elements in the web browser.
Yes. The question was that, hey, during the testing of API, can you instantiate kind of a browser, basically a deep link, basically have a link that opens a browser and perform validation? Yes, the same experience is supported on that. Yeah. You have a question?
Yeah, hi, great demo, great explanation. Thank you so much. And I had a question. I may have missed it. You may have said this, but it seems like this is live, so it's actually using real endpoints when it's going to hotel, this app and everything. And so, is there a way now, or do you plan on having a way to capture that and save it so that your automated tests don't have to use live endpoints? And if not, that's okay. I'm just curious.
Yeah, so when you say live endpoint, what do you mean by that? I want to make sure that I understand the question.
Oh, in other words, so this thing's making, when you're running the test on these real devices, they're making real API calls out to real accounts.
Yes.
So you have to log in with the real account and all that. And so is there ever a plan to capture that and store it as stored canned data so that you can run the test?
Absolutely, yes, I'll show you that as well. So here you can actually quickly if I do a quick recording here, so let me just go quick recording from here to demonstrate that. That's a great question. Because the problem is that you cannot validate API or mobile app on its own. You have to have some background, call API, do something and perform actions. So we have the full built-in capability to effectively what you can do on a Postman for a API only, you can actually do it real-time integration with the app itself. So if you have like in this case, you want to call, get or post and perform certain actions, you can actually go do that. So let me actually, sorry. So you can actually, yes, you can do that. That's the answer, yes.
I believe you.
Yeah. Any other questions? I want to just quickly show. So that was the end of the talk and the presentation and the demo. You can actually go and try, like everything that I showed you is actually real-time online on Sophie.ai. So anybody can sign up, take the Sophie, we call Sophie Sense, which we believe that the time is ripe to kind of bring the next set of innovation in the testing. So you can try out, upload your app, and start running tests, and everything is kind of available for you to try it. Okay, great. Thank you.